Hey folks, welcome back to BizTalk. We're excited that you are back with us. My name is Rick Gutierrez. I am your host and your business advocate. We have a great show lined up for you today, and we're excited to have these conversations because these are folks that have been in business for quite some time, and so they are the experts, subject matter experts, as I like to call them, because they have been there, done that, and they are here to showcase their expertise. With that being said, I want to welcome back Abigale Stolfe. Welcome back to the show, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me.
Absolutely. It's always a great conversation, and I think the last couple of times you and I have had this conversation, it's led to many other amazing conversations, which our viewers are finding really, really exciting, and they're getting to learn from you, the expert, when it comes to family law. So one of those things that our clients or our viewers are always, wanting to know more is about you, about your practice, and what you have done throughout the years to become that expert, right? So with that said, one of the things that people always want to know is the topic basically for today is developing expertise in divorce proceedings, right? Because it has all to do with family law. So as you honed in your expertise, what aspects of divorce did you find most challenging, and how did you overcome them?
That's a great question. Most people look at divorce lawyers and assume that the difficulties in divorce or the challenging components of the divorce are the financial aspects. For me, that's just not true. For me, the cases that are most challenging are cases where custody is at issue. And that custody can be complex or seemingly simple to the outside world, right? But those cases, whether a complex custody case or a seemingly simple custody case, are always driven by emotion. And that emotion really transcends religion, race, culture. That's where the difficulty lies. Um, and how do I overcome that? I overcome that by having some strict rules, right? I have some strict personal, professional rules for myself to make sure I don't get sucked into that emotion, because it's really my
Mhm.
job to stay outside of it and to help navigate my client and the family to the next level. So I do that really quite simply. Number one, I do not look at pictures of children or families. I do not engage in the personal lives of my clients. I don't become Facebook friends or any of the other social friends. I do not engage outside of the office with my clients. I do not engage with their children. So if they go to school with my children, or if I'm in any kind of social setting, I am very deliberate to not engage with the children of my clients in a conflicted case. It's really my job to get out of the emotion, and by getting out of the emotion, it helps me work through those high conflict cases, because sometimes the facts that I hear are really terrible facts,
Mhm.
and they're terrible to convey to someone else if I have to tell an expert or a judge. And a lot of times they're really terrible to imagine. So it's important, I would take a money case any day of the week over a high conflict custody case, because those are the ones where you really are making an impact on so many generations. And so I try to be very mindful of how my experience with this family is going to shape children, grandchildren, great grandchildren um, through that time.
Yeah, I imagine there's got to be a very hard limit to how much you can get involved. I mean, obviously, you're going to ask a million questions, right? That's your job. But, limiting yourself as to how deep of those questions or how the answers, how deep they go, that's when you need to manage. And I can imagine it's got its challenges, just within that, because and it's interesting. I find it interesting that you mentioned that you don't look at the pictures and all of those things. I mean, that takes an enormous amount of professionalism and an enormous amount of passion for wanting to stay as a true professional to your clients. And I think
Mhm.
that is completely admirable, and kudos to you for being able to do
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. One of our viewers wanted to learn more about insights on how you manage complex assets divisions in a divorce case. Is that something that you can discuss a little bit?
I can, and especially after what we just talked about. So asset division is a cakewalk compared to the
Right.
custody cases, right? Complex asset division is really more than just knowing the value of an asset. I can look at a bank account and I can say, okay, today it has $100,000 in it. That doesn't really help us decide asset division, because what I really need to know is what is the value of the asset, the value of the asset's subparts, and the future value. Does it have a carry forward tax benefit? Does it have a capital gains implication that another asset may not? Even though on their face they might both be $100,000, they could be two very different $100,000. So it's really, for me, important that I learn not just the face value, but the intrinsic value that can carry forward into other realms of asset division. So when I do that, I obviously conference with my client. I conference with my client's professionals. So if they have a financial advisor or tax advisor, business advisor, whomever their professional may be, I like to conference with them as well. Um, and then I might resource out to a third party professional who I trust, who might be able to look at these assets a little bit differently than someone who's in the box. It's really important that you manage all of the touchstones of the asset as you're moving through the case. You have to consider these divorce cases take some time, and these assets are a dynamic force in a case. And therefore, at all times, we have to understand all those touch points as we're moving towards resolution of a case.
Yeah, I imagine that the time that it takes to settle some of these complex cases could be months. Sometimes it could take years, and it just really depends. And so that's something that people need to take in consideration when, I guess, when you're thinking about buying all kinds of assets when you are married, and you need to you need to be aware that that's a possibility. It could take months, and then
Absolutely.
right. And Abigail and her firm, obviously, they go through all of the right processes to help everyone with that. But we talked about this in another segment, Abigail, but I think it's crucial because there's going to be a lot of new attorneys coming out of law school, and you potentially will hire some of them, right? So you have new attorneys coming on board and providing them with their first go at a particular case. How do you help them navigate themselves through that first case?
So this segment being basically about professional development, right? That's kind of the key here. The advice that I give to a new lawyer who's handling a case, listen, your first high conflict case is memorable. Your first case is memorable, but your first high conflict case is memorable. It doesn't matter what kind of case it is. It could be custody, it could be money. It doesn't matter, because high conflict means high emotion, right? Conflict equals emotion. So whenever I speak with a young lawyer and I'm trying to guide them on how to handle these cases, I always suggest that they do not shy away from confronting their client's emotions when needed, making the proper suggestion to the client to get the right professional involved. Whether you're dealing with assets or children, that emotional connection has to be dealt with. I think it's important that young lawyers do not treat therapy either towards their client or towards themselves as taboo. It is completely appropriate to be emotionally prepared for any case. So if you're a young lawyer and you're starting your first high conflict case, and it makes you nervous, and it does make you nervous, talk to someone. If you are a client coming in, or if you're working with a client who's coming in who just doesn't seem to be emotionally prepared for what they're about to go through, you have to tell them, I suggest you get therapy and come back to me in 6 months. Let's talk in 6 months, because you don't know what you're about to embark on. And I can tell you it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I was, one of the first things that come to my mind is, the level of nervousness and, for them to be able to perform, especially when they are in a court setting, right? So, what is your best advice going in a court setting?
Oh, be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. I think when you go in, listen, I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this I think, over 20 years at this point. Uh, there is not one court case I go into in this level of experience, as quote unquote easy as it may be, without having read the entire file the night before, having reiterated to myself the theme of the case, putting it big letters on top of my legal pad so I don't forget it as I'm arguing it, because you do have to pivot a lot when you're in the courtroom. You could be standing and arguing before a judge 1 minute, talking to a client on the stand the next minute, and 4 minutes later in judges' chambers having a conversation that you just didn't expect to even have. So you really need to know the ins and outs of every case that you walk in on.
Absolutely. So I imagine there's got to be a first for everyone, and that's no different than any other job. But being in that particular setting, I know that me personally, I would probably freak out and not know what to do. That's because I'm not an attorney, and I leave that to the experts, to handle all of those things. So, Abigale, it's been an amazing conversation here today. Thank you so much for showcasing your expertise to our viewers. I think our viewers will also like to know a little bit more about how we can get in touch with you. So how would that be?
Sure, thank you. You could visit our website at jerseycoastfamilylaw.com. It's a great resource to see, who we are and how we developed and how we can help you if we can help you. From there, you can call us at 732-361-4718 and schedule a Zoom conference or an in-person meeting to sit and talk about how we can help you.
Awesome. All right. Abigale, it's such a great pleasure to speak with you again and have you on the show. I look forward to additional segments here with you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that is it for this segment. We'll be right back with another subject matter expert.